So we know the President addressed the nation Sunday. We have high expectation of things changing on Monday, the 1st of June. But we want specific answers, Michael, to specific questions.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeremy. Lots of burning questions, as you mentioned, as we get ready for that briefing, 12:30 on Wednesday. Let's focus on some of those burning questions, Jeremy. And speaking of burning, of course, the President mentioned hotspots during his address on Sunday night. Certain hotspots have been identified across the country. The key question, of course, Jeremy, how will they work? He did say that specialist teams will be deployed to several of these areas, many of them major metros. The question, of course, what kind of restrictions will be imposed, if any, in these particular areas? We'll hope to get some clarity on that on Wednesday. Let's focus quickly on another question, Jeremy. A lot of people will have a vested interest in this. When will we be allowed to buy alcohol? We know that sale of alcohol has been allowed, but the question is what times and what days will that actually happen? And remember, you can only drink alcohol at home. You can't drink it on the premises where it's sold. Let's focus quickly on another quick one, Jeremy, and this, of course, is very important to our economy, public transport. The Minister of Transport will probably release regulations for this particular sector. Questions about, for instance, the capacity. Will it be kept to 70% of the capacity as it has during lockdown 4? And another key one, Jeremy, is when can we actually fly? The President said that domestic air travel will be allowed, but mostly, Jeremy, for business purposes. Not clear exactly when the green light will be given for that. But again, it's important for the economy that some sort of domestic air travel is allowed. Jeremy?
Let's talk about some of the most vulnerable people in the South African economy, domestic workers, Michael. There would be questions surely about rules in that respect as we approach level 3.
Absolutely, Jeremy. So in level 4, domestic workers were allowed to return to work if they were live-in domestic workers and if they cared for the elderly or children, for instance. Let's quickly just explore that. The key issue now, of course, is whether all domestic workers will be allowed to return, specifically those who don't actually live with their employers. Very important because, as you mentioned, domestic workers, a vulnerable sector of society, and many of them desperate to put food on the table. And finally, Jeremy, just two more points. We mentioned this in your last interview. Are our schools actually safe? The Minister of Education, of course, will be talking to us a little bit later in the month as we get ready for the 1st of June. So that will be key. And hopefully we'll get some clarity in terms of the regulations and the practices that are being put in place to keep our schools safe. And a quick reminder, finally, Jeremy, of the time, that lockdown briefing, 12:30 on Wednesday. We'll carry it live right here on the NCA.
All right, Michael Marillier and his pink feather duster. Thank you very much indeed.